Hello everyone, welcome to the module 1 Understanding Graphic Design as a Field Part 2. I'm pretty sure in your previous session Dr. Shahid has talked comprehensively about design and its importance in our world. I would also like to share some of my perspective in the same context of design and graphic design. Let's dive in. Here in the slide, as you can see, it's mentioned that design is no longer limited to aesthetics, but spans a broad spectrum encompassing the creation of objects, spaces, systems, services, and digital interfaces. What does it mean is like now I'm pretty sure you have got some of the ideas about what is design in the previous session, right? Who what is the quality of a designer and how it impacts the society, right? And why design seems to be important for all of us at the present world, right? So with that, when you see this definition, definitely it shows that not only it has gone beyond the concept of aesthetic, and you have to look the overall thing as a system, and the more you look at the system, it has a larger implication as a solution. So as I said, you might know by now what the different ways or different definition of design can be. Primarily, I'll be identifying some of the key points where the design uh, needs to be considered in any kind of situation. Okay, so we'll go one by one. The first key point is when you are trying to address any kind of solution, right? So you have to also understand the context. So you cannot randomly provide any kind of solution without understanding the context. So it's very important for any kind of designer to emphasize on the context, understand the scenario, what has happened in the past, what's happening in the present, how people are working in that environment, or what is the situation of that particular scenario, right? And based on that, definitely you'll be using multiple methods, process, and ideas, right, to work on it. And with that, you will generate some kind of solution. So design is again associated to the idea of solution. So with context, definitely you will try to create solutions and you will try to generate a better output out of it. Next is preference. So even though if you're creating any kind of solution, right, you have to also understand whether those solutions are preferred or not. I will give you a small example of how this can change, right? So when you consider any kind of sitting furniture, right, all the sitting furnitures are not same, right? So in a outside environment, stools are given to use, right? So if you see any kind of street vendors, right, you can see stools are primarily used for their sitting arrangement, right? But again, if I change the environment, suppose considering my environment, you can see I have a chair which is ergonomic in nature, right? I have opportunity to change the direction easily. I can turn like this, right? Even there is a height adjustment here. There is armrest here. So there are different features based on this scenario. But the job is to sit, right? Again, there are some furniture, especially chairs, which are foldable in nature and which can recline to a larger degree of angle, right? Again, the role here is very much different there. So it's more towards relaxation, right? So again, the job is to sit and relax, right? So how now in each segment the things are changing? So that means the context, because of different context, the solutions is changing, and because of that, the idea of preference is also changing. So you cannot imagine me sitting for 4 5 hours continuously taking a session or online session in a stool, right? That's not beneficial for my health. Okay. And typically in a roadside scenario, a roadside vendor definitely for him or her, sitting is not the priority because they have multiple tasks to do at that particular time. When there is a rush, they prefer to stand and give the products as soon as possible, right, to their consumers. And again, if I'm traveling, right, the idea of chairs should be compact, it should be flexible, and I should often be able to take it in any place irrespective of how big or small the chair is. So see, because of the context, now the product is changing. Okay, and that's very, very important for us to understand why the choice of preference is very, very important in design. So even though you have done a thorough study on the context, right, and you have given a better solution, but when you are not mapping the preference, there may be a failure of your solution. So definitely you have to go approach the users and also ask them whether they want to prefer that idea or not, whether the choice is there or not. So, to understand what I have talked about, let us take a case of our Indian fintech company, Paytm. So, I'm pretty sure most of you might know, but still I will say or like to give a brief introduction about Paytm. So, Paytm is an Indian multinational financial technology company, right? Fintech company that specializes in digital payment and financial services based in India. So, Paytm was founded in 2010 by Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Now, so since it's a fintech company, we'd also see how they have been popular, right? Because people who might not know, Paytm has taken over most of the financial transaction in the rural, suburban, and urban areas. So most of the transaction, especially in business, trading, or monetary transactions, are done through Paytm, and this is a very strong step taken by the Indians to adapt to the digital payment, cashless transaction basically. So with that, we are taking this as a case like why it has become successful and how the role of design has can be observed here, especially in different phase of the brand. Okay, so first is solving contextual challenges, that is the language diversity. So India has a rich linguistic diversity with multiple languages spoken across regions. The Paytm speaker supports announcement in a multiple Indian languages, ensuring accessibility for merchants and customers of different linguistic background. What it means is, because since the most of the transactions are happening in a diverse area of geography, and India is very much rich with diversity and different culture, different linguistic uh, right background. So adding a language diversity, basically adding the way of communication to be more localized, help them to easier adaptation. So the adaptation is again correlated to the idea of preference. So if things are aligned with my zone, my local preferences, definitely I will adapt to that product or system or solutions quickly, because I can create a relationship with that product instantly, right? So next is limited literacy. So what it mean by that? Many small scale merchants may not be fully literate or tech savvy. So because of the Paytm speaker, it eliminates the need for reading the payment notification on a screen by providing audio confirmation of payments. So even though, as you can see, in most of the urban and rural, there is a huge difference of using technological equipments, right? And Paytm has understood that very effectively, and they have taken that role of keeping the transaction in an audio format helps them to not to look or open the app and go through different notification just for a transaction, right? So the voice itself creates a confirmation that the transaction had happened, right, without looking in different notification over any kind of devices. Next is enhancing trust and transparency. So what is mean in terms of real-time payment notification. Now since we are talking about notification, since it's a cashless transaction, often creates doubt among the payment confirmation, which was a issue in when they initially launched it. Okay, so people were unable to confirm whether the transaction was happening properly or not. But when the Paytm speaker came, the speaker provides instant audio alerts for successful payment, building trust between the merchants and the customers. Say, for example, a vegetable vendor no need to look at and check their smartphone actually. So while they rely the overall transaction in terms of sound, and also there are high chances that there are less high chances that people will misunderstand less if the overall transaction is heard through the sound, right? So there's a which reduce the conflicts also while they are transacting. Next point is, so we are talking about enhancing trust and transparency, right? So in that point, fraudulent prevention. So fraudulent claims of payment are common in cashless transaction, right? So the speaker announces the exact payment amount received, so which ensures that the merchants cannot be deceived. So this is a very interesting features which you can observe in the name of the Paytm speaker, right? So improving workflow for small merchants, that means hands-free convenience. So when we talk about the speaker, small merchants may be busy with marketplace, often have their hands full of serving customers, right? The Paytm speaker allows them to focus on their work without having to check a phone or a device. So, say for example, a tea stall owner can continue pouring tea while being notified of payment through the speaker. So assume that there is a cash transaction, right? So every time when the uh, tea seller is trying to return the change, right? He or she has to stop the working process and give the change, right? But because of the Paytm speaker, now the tea seller don't have to think about again giving back the change or dealing with the cash, right? It's the sound which already being notified, and with that he or she can easily keep working on their work, right? Next is continuous operation. So the because of the speaker, which is very seamless in low resource settings, with reliable battery life and ease of use. So again, see again, when you are creating a product, when you are designing a product, you have to also understand how India is diverse, right? There are different geography, there are different infrastructure, and based on that, if you see the rural scenario or suburban scenario, electricity is a very big issue, right? And they have created a product which lasts for longer duration, which has a reliable battery life, which works. Basically, it's sustained in Indian conditions. Okay, so that's another feature which the Paytm has taken into consideration for sustaining their business model. Next point is affordable and scalable design. So the overall system, the ecosystem of Paytm is very cost effective. So people from small scale and medium enterprise can, and also the street vendor who make up large segment of the Indian economy can easily adapt to this. Say for example, a grocery store owner, right, can adopt this technology without making a making any kind of significant financial investment. And that's a very important part. Like if you want your product to sustain in the small scale industry, right, it should be affordable, and Paytm has created such kind of ecosystem where the like smaller segments, small scale industry can easily adapt to this technology. Next is easy integration. Easy integration, what it means by that, the device integrates smoothly with Paytm's existing ecosystem. That means they have come up with the concept of QR code, right? You just need to scan it and you make the payment. That's it, and not beyond it. So the overall way of dealing with the transaction becomes very easy with your smart devices. Now, so next is tailored to Indian market dynamics. That means digital payment boom. Okay. So what it means, like with the rise of UPI, which is Unified Payment Interface in India, the digital wallets, India is moving towards cashless economy, right? So because of that, Paytm took the opportunity and they filled this gap of cashless economy with the intervention of their ecosystem. And because of that, since because of the initiative of the government, right, and the Paytm was successful in adapting it at that moment. Informal economy is another point which India deals a lot. So, a large portion of India's economy operates informally, often without sophisticated tools. So, considering that scenario, the Paytm speaker brings a digital innovation to this segment. Now, understanding the Indian market dynamics. So, since we are talking about the transaction, that too in a very like a, small scale, large scale, everywhere, right? And especially most of the shopkeepers have adopted this ecosystem, right? And for that, the idea of speaker, how it makes sense. So, India is primarily, if you see, large portion of the Indian infrastructure are markets, right? Vegetable vendors, marketplace, right? Busy with streets with cars honking around. So in that scenario, how the speaker makes sense, because if you are going for a cashless economy, cashless transaction, and primarily you are also getting notified with the noise of the sound of the Paytm, right? So the speaker acts as a clear and a loud source of confirmation. So even though there is a noisy or chaotic environment, right, the speaker's clear and loud audio ensures the payment notifications are audible even in such environment. So promoting inclusivity and ease of use. That means language and accessibility, which we have talked about, right? How diversity plays an important role in launching this product and how it has impacted to a larger audience. Apart from that, gender inclusion. So most of the women-led business, especially in rural area, are benefiting significantly as the device requires minimal technical knowledge, empowering them to adopt the payment confidently. Next is financial inclusion, so positive and social economic impact, right? So in that way, when you see the Paytm speaker, right, most of the people are adopting it. It encourages small business and vendors to adopt digital payment, increasing their access to formal banking system. And also, because of that, they have multiple transactions, which also opens up credit opportunity. Okay, so a small street vendor can definitely show his or her payment history, right, and apply for small business loans. So since most of the transactions are happening and it can be recorded, right, you can trace it, and this can help them to keep their records in a specific in a specific device, which will help them to benefit, to showcase, to get loans and all. Next is encouraging customers trust in digital transaction, which is very very important, because since cashless transaction is very new in India, so because of such kind of infrastructure, such kind of ecosystem, customers are very much confident of such kind of transaction because of the trust they have in terms of transaction, and the sound and the feedback which they get while doing such kind of transaction, right? So now, if we see how the idea of the visual, right? So now, since we have talked primarily about the overall system, overall ecosystem, how it has impacted the different zones of India, right? Now let's see how visually it makes sense to the overall brand, right? So this is the logo of the Paytm, right? And you can see how the choices of colors is also playing an important role. So visual language has been a cornerstone of Paytm's success. So playing, which is playing a very much vital role in terms of services, accessibility, trustworthy, and user friendly in diverse and dynamic Indian market. So if you see the branding part of it, so from the UI, UX, right? Paytm's visual language ensures clarity and consistency. And it also, because of the choice of color, right? It also promote trust through their overall services, because again, if you can see how the logo has been designed, right? It's very much uh, I would say softer in edges, so it becomes very much welcoming. If you see the anatomy, the edges are not sharp, it's very soft, it's very rounded, and it becomes very much welcoming in that way. And if you see the color, right, there's a very clean way of recognizing it, that is the blue. And it has two variants, one is darker blue and one is lighter, right? And apart from that, you can see how the typography is very much clean and recognizable. So it's easily readable also. From far, you can easily read the brand name, right? And they have purposely chosen a logo type for this. They could have also used a brand mark, but again, they wanted the brand to be recalled every time, right? So that's why they went with the idea of logo type, right? And the combination of blue tones symbolizes trust, right, reliability, and digital connectivity, aligning with its core value as a financial technology company. Apart from that, you can see how the cues, like if you go through their overall website or application, you will see how icons plays also an important role in simplifying the navigation. The concept of QR codes, right, scan and pay, is very much simple, and again it's kept within the same theme design in terms of color, like blue. The tones of blue you will get, again the color black, right? Those things are being addressed as a part of representation. So next comes like how the idea of simplifying digital payment through intuitive design. So primarily, it's minimalistic user interface. So you are not dealing with chaotic elements within the application or website, right? So wallet icons and shopping carts, everything has been thoughtfully projected in this representation, right? Again, step by step visual guide has been incorporated. If you are newly installing the app, right, you will get step by step guides just to understand what to use and what are the features they carry, right? So these are the things which we have talked about: visual cues, minimalistic user interface, right? Educating new user, that's what we are talking about, right? How it navigates or guides the user when they try to install the application for the first time. So with this, again, now let's recap ourselves and understand how context, solutions, and preference have been taken care under this case study. So if you can see so the context of India. So in Indian context, the diversity was primarily taken into consideration to ensure trust. So with that idea, they have gave a solutions, right? In terms of sound, PTM speaker was the solutions where people have adapted it, and also the choice of preference were given to them, like localizing language, right? Brand ambassador. So in most of the cases you can see our Bollywood actors to be part of the voice, right? Again, if you come to South, again the South Indian voice, South Indian actors' voice has been taken into consideration. So as much as localization has taken into in terms of promoting the brand, right? So while they're localizing, they're also seeking for the preference of the community or the users. Apart from that, the overall transactions is in terms of quality is very much trustworthy. So when you see such kind of things, it makes sense. So here the idea of context, solutions, and preference plays a important role in a successful design. Now we'll try to discuss why design is important. So in this slide, you can see in today's world, design has become deeply embedded in our day-to-day lives, shaping how we interact with objects, technology, environment, and even ideas. So it's important to know that it's not only about aesthetics, but it's also about the ability to enhance functionality, communication, and emotional connection. As societies and technology evolve, the role of design becomes increasingly critical for simplifying complexity, solving problems, and creating meaningful experiences. So, we'll take a quote from a famous graphic designer, Paul Rand, who he always says, everything is design, everything. So what he means by that is like everything which is you as a humans are interacting is a part of design. It was thoughtfully created, right? And that's why you are using it. So from the time you wear your dress, right? Walk into the kitchen or you take shower, every product you touch is a thoughtful design for human benefit. So this is what he meant by then. Even though he is known for so if you don't know about Paul Rand, I would just like to give a brief introduction about him. So Paul Rand was a legendary American graphic designer who who changed the world of modern design with his focus on simplicity, functionality, and I think timeless aesthetics. He's also known for his famous work in terms of logo design, print, and publication. I'm pretty sure most of you know about IBM. So he have created the brand logo for IBM, UPS, ABC, which is the broadcasting channel, and next, where Steve Jobs has created that company while he came out from the Apple at that time, right? So he was famous for such kind of works, and in today's world also most of the designers take inspiration from his work, try to understand his perspective of doing design. Okay, so when we consider the concept of why design is important, we have taken few of the suggestions or few of the thoughts, I would say few of the thoughts from our students, and let us see what our student has to say about it.
So, people have a lot of problems, and then to solve it, designers are there to make their life easy. And previously, people like adjusting with their surroundings, but now we have such designs where designs are such a way to make people's life easier. So that's why design is important. I think, I mean, it's like when you walk into a KFC, what do you see? What do you feel? I think that is what design is.
and why design is important to have all these cool experiences.
Uh, Design is important. So I consider design to be in very close terms with art. So obviously it is, and I think we as a society needs art to continue anything, and design being a part of it is, I believe, crucial for the movement or for the creation of new ideas. I think humans can't really survive without any new creation of ideas, and its manifestation in art or design is one important reason why design is important.
Design is important because, as I mentioned, design is a jugaad to life, and we need to have some jugaad to have an easy life or like move forward. So I consider that, yes.
Design is important because it is present in every single aspect in our environment. So without design, we can't do anything.
So now I'm pretty sure, as suggested by our students, and some of their perspective seems to be very much interesting. And yeah, it aligns with the idea which we are discussing, right? And this is what we as a designer should see design and how it can be impactful for our daily, how we can make our designs more impactful for users. Now, some of the points which I have felt this are important to discuss as why design is important. So, first thing is like it enhances the user experience. So, a good design makes products, interface, and spaces intuitive and accessible. For example, the ease of navigating a mobile app or the comfort of well-designed chair directly impacts user satisfaction and usability. Solves problems and adds value. And yes, so design enables creative solutions for everyday problem, and often making complex processes simple and more accessible. It adds value by transforming functional items into desirable, engaging products or species. Uh, that's why it's in terms of problem, and so it solves problem and add values in considering these factors. The next point is it reflects identity and values. Yes. Though visual design, brands, and organization communicate their identity and values and mission, creating connections with their audience, consistent and thoughtful design can build trust, loyalty, and strong brand identity. We all can recall with the case study of Paytm, right? How it was quite impactful in building the trust, loyalty, and strong brand identity. Next is it drives innovation. So design encourages new ways of thinking and experimenting, which can lead to innovation in the field like technology, medicine, and sustainable development. Design is also crucial to developing groundbreaking products and systems that improve our lives. So, next point is influences behavior. So, design can subtly guide behavior through things like color schemes, layout, and form. For instance, the urban design can influence how people move through a city, while UX design can influence how people engage with a website or an app. So somewhere the other, a good design will definitely influence the behavior of your user. It will be more, I would say, it won't be too much of load or overload for them when you are dealing with good design. So now, when we are understanding the idea of design, let's also understand how visual design is important, since primarily we will be discussing mostly on the idea of visual communication and visual design. Let's have an idea or thought about that. Right, it creates first impressions. So what it mean by that, right? So when we seek for any kind of visual design, the first thing is that visually it creates an impression to us, and it stays if the overall representation is simple in that, right, it will stay for a longer duration. So a visual design especially is a crucial because it directly affects how user perceive and understand and also interact with a product or a service. It can be also a service. It focuses on the aesthetics and usability through elements like color, typography, imagery, and layout, aiming to create visually engaging and meaningful experiences. So when we say meaningful experiences, let's also understand how it creates impressions. Okay. So the point which I have mentioned here, the visuals are the first thing people notice, and effective visualization can immediately establish a positive impression, conveying professionalism, creativity, and trustworthy. So this is very very important, because when we design logo, this becomes the face of the particular brand, and a good logo will always be a point of reference for us to create a relationship with that particular brand. And based on the quality, the experience, and the services, the impression of the logo will be more towards a pride gradually, because you will be quite happy or to showcase this with the other community, saying that you are quite satisfied with such kind of services which they provide. So a good example can be the logo of Apple, right? People are very much proud to showcase that they have a Apple product because of the trustworthiness, because of the services, because of the quality of their product. Next is improve communication and understanding. What it means is like visual makes information easier to understand and remember. Diagrams, icons, color coding are tools that can help to communicate complex ideas quickly, aiding in learning and retention. Uh, again, the way how we perceive visual is also correlated to the idea of communication, right? So a good design will definitely create a lasting impression, and through that the way of communication will be retained. Okay. So builds a brand recognition. So typically most of the visual designers also work upon this a lot, especially when they are dealing with identity or branding. So the overall recognition also through visual design, consistent way of representing the logo, color, fonts, imagery builds a cohesive brand identity. So this helps in creating the brand loyalty as audience associate with visual elements and their certain qualities or values. So again, coming back to examples are like the brands like Nike, Adidas, right? They create such kind of ecosystem of visual layouts or promotions that somewhere or the other you tend to connect with that particular brand in a much more effectively, and taking the benefit of that they also tries to project or promote their brand ethos, right, and which creates a sense of pride in their users. So if you consider Nike, it always promotes good health, an active representation of sports, right, and how dynamic it is, and how they support the athletes to be healthier, to be much stronger. And this is how the concept of Nike has been projected. Again, it's associated to basketball a lot, right? So most of the basketball players are also associated. So one example can be the Jordans, right? So how they use the players as a brand ambassador to project the overall brand, such that there's a loyalty on the brand image, right? It enhances usability. So again, this visual design aids in making user interfaces more intuitive. Effective use of layout, contrast, and spacing can help guide users, making product easier and more pleasant to navigate. Evokes emotion and connection. So if we talk about emotion and all, so the idea of colors come into play. And by now, I think you might have got experience about how color creates emotion, right? It also changes the mood through color composition and imagery. Visual design also can evoke feeling, memories, or aspiration, fostering a deeper connection between user and a product. So with this, again, how we have talked about the idea of graphic as a source, right? So here, importance of graphic. So let's focus about how graphic designers, what is the role of graphic designers here? So graphic designers plays a very increasingly significant role in today's visual world. Therefore, their work permits nearly every industry, influencing how information is shared, brands are perceived, and audiences connect with the ideas. So, if you see, the modern graphic designers are not only responsible for aesthetic, as we have talked in the earlier discussions, right? But also creating a visual system that communicates effectively, clearly, and resonates emotionally with diverse audience. And also their work profounds the impact, particularly in the realms of branding, digital media, social causes, and user experience, all of which shape societal perspectives, behavior, and values. So the role of graphic designer again is a very important nowadays, because it also impacts the society. It also has a voice to the environment. Okay, so primarily, again, this role as a graphic designers is shifting in terms of being more vocal, right? And also to showcase the societal reflection through their works, right? That can be done. So one of the example which I was talking about, in which I'll be talking more in detail, is about Noma Bar, who also raises societal issues through his artworks, right? Again, this is somehow where the role of graphic designer also takes a very important role in a society. So branding and identity creation is one of the portion where graphic designer take an important role or responsibilities in terms of defining the brand. So you can see how different brands place a strong representation, right, based on their vision and missions, and how those things are being visualized, and they are created as a part of a symbolic representation of that particular brand, right? So this is another segment where graphic designer take pride to work on it. So information dissemination and storytelling. So in the world of data, right, the work on infographics, reports, presentation, marketing material, that break down complex ideas into digestible visual format, particularly in the field of journalism, education, government. Well designed visual can clarify crucial information for public promotion. Awareness is also a major factor where graphic designers take an important role in that subject, and also informed decision making. So using proper graphic layout, understanding the scenario, and projecting the information in the right way is also another role of a graphic designer. Next is user experience and interface design. So many graphic designer works closely with the UX and UI designers to improve the digital experience on websites, apps, and softwares. And primarily nowadays, most of the because of the digital immersion of different platforms, right? Irrespective of mobile or smart, there are also now AR VR platform where the idea of UI and UX has been explored a lot, and there the role of designers plays an important role, and how they are projecting the idea in a more engaging way, in a more thoughtful way, right? And they focus on the elements like layout, color, typography, iconography. Even if you see, most of the app has multiple sets of iconography, and that's also unique to a specific brand or an organization, right? So creating interfaces that are not only visually appealing but also intuitive and user friendly. The digital interaction being an integral part of our daily life, the design of this interfaces impacts productivity, accessibility, and these things need to be taken into consideration, especially if you consider any kind of graphic designers. Apart from that, we as a graphic designer also have to be careful, like how poorly designed can frustrate any kind of users, right? And that's a very important part which you have to take care while you are designing, that your design shouldn't irritate. If you're creating for any kind of users, the users shouldn't get irritated by your output, rather than they should be more acceptable, or it should enhance their life in a much better way. So next is advertising and marketing. So most of the domains, especially in the world of branding, advertising and marketing plays an important role, and graphic design within in this segments also has a major role in creating advertisement for digital prints, social media channels. They help to shape campaigns that not only attract attention but also resonates with target audience. In a fast-paced world of social media where competition for attention is fierce, right? Graphic designer create visual that can communicate the message within seconds, and that you can see especially in social media posts and all, how quickly it becomes very engaging. So you can take the example of Zomato taking the role of creating very, I would say, personal way of promoting their brand, right? In the other way, like their works also drive sales, like because of the engagement of users. It also is associated to sales. It will increase the sales, and also it will help shape the brand narrative in a way that traditionally media cannot. Yeah, so this is where I was talking about how the role of a graphic designer is to create a strong voice, right? So many graphic designers today are engaged in causing cause-driven work. In fact, it creates visuals that raise awareness about social, political, and environmental issues. And there are many designers who have actively shown such kind of strong protest regarding environmental issue or political issues, and that's done by creating posters, social media contents, interactive websites, and that can drive movement and challenge perception, and inspire action, in fact. And with visuals often being more impactful and text alone, Graphic designers have the power to amplify voices, draw attention to urgent issues, and mobilize communities. Impact of graphic design. So, primarily now we'll be talking about how graphic design can influence the environment. So, we'll go one by one. Shaping consumer behavior. So, though advertising, branding, and digital marketing, graphic designers wield significant influence over consumer habit. The use of color, psychology, layout, and design elements can subconsciously guide consumer choices. While this power can be used to create positive, informative consumer experience, it also raises ethical questions when we designer manipulates rather than inform. It can lead to impulsive buying or reinforcement of unhealthy consumer habit. So this is the thing which we as a designer have to understand, like how powerful your design can be. It can change the behavior of your user in a good way and a bad way. So we have to be sensitive enough what kind of solutions or what kind of projection we are trying to do, whether it's impacting the community in a bad way or a good way. You have to consider that before finalizing or before addressing the problem and giving a solutions to that. Next is fostering inclusivity and accessibility. Graphic design, particularly in digital spaces, can make or break accessibility. Designer increasingly incorporating inclusive practices such as choosing colors that are distinguishable for colorblind users, or optimizing text for readability. However, many designs still overlook these elements, leading to accessibility gap. What we should also consider is like how graphic designer have opportunity and responsibility to advocate for universal design principles, and that can make experience inclusive for all, including people with disabilities. And this point is very, very important in terms of how sensitive we are towards our environment. And being a designer, you have to also understand how holistic you are when you are giving XYZ solutions for a community or an organization or a country, right? So the idea of inclusivity and accessibility is predominantly ignored most of the time. But now we are in that phase where we have to always consider this uh, as a designer to address the solutions more effectively and impacting the overall organization or the community in a much better way. Next is impacting environmental awareness. So, graphic designer can play a vital role in promoting environmental consciousness. Many designers now focus on sustainable practices using eco-friendly materials like print media and promoting digital-first solutions. Moreover, campaigns designed to raise awareness about environmental issue can reach a larger audiences quickly. However, industry impacts is dual. I think the idea is not predominantly accepted, as the constant demand of advertising often leads to excess of print materials and energy use. So this is what we have to also be careful about. So balancing design with sustainability is a growing challenge and opportunity also for a graphic designer. So we always have to seek for better sustainable output rather than just addressing it based on a brief, right? So now most of us should also be aware about how your solutions are going to impact the the environment, and what kind of steps are your conscious steps you are taking as a graphic designer to take care of that. Next is influencing public perception and societal change. So this is again an important thing where graphic designer can influence public opinion on social and political issues through campaigns, visual statements, and information design. They also contribute to shaping social narratives. For instance, powerful posters, social media graphics, or even branding for social movement can really support. And as you can see in the Black Lives Matters, right, how the issue has been highlighted or voiced out. On top of that, the climate change activism is also has been observed a lot nowadays. And however, this influence can be double-edged sword. So if you promote misinformation, or your message is not ethically correct, then this can lead to a larger problem which you might not be able to control too. So this is a a very important role which we graphic designers are taking into, and we have to be very much aware about what we are trying to project and how it can impact the people. Next is promoting mental health or well-being. Visual elements have significance in fact on mood and mental well-being. So the choice of color, typography, layout can affect our feel. Interacting with design brand that focus on wellness, for example, rely on graphic design to create calming, so positive effect, right? So this is also another thing which we have to understand. So brands that focus on wellness, for example, rely on graphic design to create calming positive spaces for their audience. However, overstimulating or aggressive design can have opposite effect, contributing to stress, distraction, or decision fatigue. So thoughtful graphic design can enhance well-being by creating soothing, engaging, and clear visual experiences. So with this, we are about to end this discussion on like why, what, and how you can be a good designer, and why there is importance of design in this scenario, right? So we'll just conclude this by saying design is the art and science of creating solutions that combine aesthetic, functionality, and purpose to improve human experiences. And we have also seen what are the three major segments we have to consider while doing any kind of design process, right? And that's is the context. You have to always identify the context properly, spend time more on understanding the context rather than directly jumping to the solution. So based on that, definitely your solutions will evolve based on the preference of your consumers, right? So it's not like you have one single solution. There are high chances your solutions will evolve with time, with the choice of the preference of your consumers. So apart from that, in today's fast-paced world, the interconnection between different things are happening. So design is playing a very important role in simplifying the complexity and also enhancing the usability or in the overall area. Apart from that, we also talked about how graphic designer plays a pivotal role in landscaping and crafting the visual communication that informs or inspires the audience. And their works are always are very much important nowadays because it can impact the overall community or a society or a nation in such kind of situations. So I hope you have got some idea about the concept of design, right? And how graphic design also is important in the world of design, and how what is the role of a designer, and how should address any kind of scenarios, right? uh, and how you can be more sensitive towards your environment, and how you should take pride in solving the problem for the betterment of the society. So thank you for your time. I hope you have got some idea about design, right? Along with the role of graphic designers. And we'll end this session here, and in the next session will be continued by Dr. Shahid. Goodbye.